Welcome to Horror Bois. It's a podcast on the internet. I'm Austin, joined as always by
Chris.
And we are the Horror Bois. And this isn't any old podcast on this old internet. No, my friends. This is a horror review podcast.
Yeah.
Where every week we review horror.
Of some sort.
Yeah, I'm just trying to change. I'm trying to change it up every time. Have a different joke because I had to change. If this is your first episode, typically I say horror movie review podcast, but we're not talking about horror movies anymore for this time period right now, because the Chucky franchise moved to television, but it's also really good television. So I wanted to still talk about it on the podcast.
Yeah.
So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna start talking about Chucky season 2 today, with episode 1 and 2. Ooh.
Nope.
So today we're going to talk about, the first episode is episode 1, Halloween 2. That sounds kind of confusing when you say it like that, but it's what it is. This is the second Halloween in the Chucky TV show, and just Chucky in general, because they had not been on Halloween until Chucky season 1.
Sure.
Yeah, so this episode is directed by Jeff Renfro, he's returning, so I don't have any more info for you right now about him. Written by Don Mancini, the man, the myth, the legend himself.
Mancini himself,
yeah.
if you will.
The producer is David Kirshner, also created the Chucky doll back in the day, did the drawings that led to our beautiful little monster we have now.
Yeah.
Our composer, once again returning, I think since definitely Curse, but I think definitely Cult, but maybe back to Curse, Joseph LaDuca. Our director of photography, this is our first time with him. His name is Christopher Soos, I believe, is how it's pronounced. Soos. So I'm gonna guess that's Soos.
That does sound like Seuss.
Yeah, and he also was the director of photography for Bel Air.
Is that like the Fresh Prince remake?
The serious, gritty Fresh Prince.
Oh,
yeah.
Is that what that is?
Yeah, I think so. I haven't seen it. I don't know, but that's what it looked like to me.
Oh, okay.
The production designer is not returning Craig Sandals. We have a new production designer for this season, but it's a Horror Boy alum, John Dontertman of Jason X.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It went from designing space stations to
Catholic schools.
Yeah.
Basically, it's a 1-for-1.
They're the same.
Yeah. Our special effects makeup are done by Tim Phoenix of Stranger Things, Son of the Mask, Avengers, and The Mandalorian. As well as Jake... Oh, I'm sorry, Jake. I'm having trouble reading my own handwriting. I think it's Proruth, but I could be wrong. Our animatronic characters and effects are by Tony Gardner and our Alterian Inc. Our 4 other returning puppeteers are Peter A. Chavaco, Pamela Ivetta, Steve Newburn, and Gord Robinson. We do have one new puppeteer, who is Mark Hunter. And that's our pre-notes. So let's hop right into the episode. We open with Andy at gunpoint of the Tiffany doll. Andy is played by Alex Vincent, who's returning. Tiffany doll is voiced by Jennifer Tilly. As you may have noticed there, still no, National Treasure. That's because we actually have decided to change how we're doing National Treasures going forward. Our 4 people who have been already given that, Tony Todd, Matthew Lillard, Brad, and Fiona Dorff, are godfathered in. Or grandfathered in, not godfather. They're godfathered in.
Hey, welcome to the family.
They're grandfathered in. They will always be National Treasure. But going forward, anyone else who wants to have that, they don't want to, whatever. Anyone else we want to give that to will have to be, have a nomination process that we'll do at the end of each year. So make sure you tune into that end of year podcast we do. Because now it's not just our thoughts about the year. It's also the National Treasure Hall of Fame induction ceremony or something. It's better wording that I'll figure out later.
Yeah, tune into the end of the year podcast when the title is somehow even longer.
Yeah, probably. um, we pan to the back of the truck where 3 Chuckies are talking. Chucky is voiced by national treasure Brad Dourif. We have Bald Chucky, Stick Arm Chucky, and Chucky 3, because he doesn't have any distinguishing qualities.
Yeah.
Bald Chucky doesn't have a knife. Stick Arm Chucky says they were given out at orientation, and tells Bald Chucky not to be, sad about being bald, because, girls like it. It's a funny little scene, but none of the dialogue was stand out, ooh, I need to write it down. But it is good. It's always fun when Chucky talks to Chucky. They do really good at writing that stuff.
Yeah.
Bald Chucky does then point out that Stick Arm Chucky has stick arms. Maybe that'll be important later. Not in these episodes, maybe after. Spoiler. Yeah, I think it's like episode 4 or 5.
Got it.
So remember that. Remember that, audience.
So Stick Arm Chucky's still around, is what you're saying.
Oh, but we're done with all around right now. They're all alive right here.
Interesting.
Chucky 3 recognizes Andy, but he can't tell why. Tiffany yells at them to get back in their boxes. Stick Arm Chucky thinks she's hot. Bald Chucky says he has no chance because of his stick arms. Chucky 3 still thinks Andy looks familiar. Stick Arm Chucky agrees, but can't put his finger on it, just that he's repulsive. Andy says they don't know me, and they don't know you either. We get flashbacks to Tiffany, the person, which is technically Jennifer Tilly. This franchise is really confusing if you're jumping in here. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And the flashback is Tiffany killing the Chucky doll last season. I guess technically only decapitating the bomb kills him, which she did still set, but we don't see the bomb go off here. Andy swerves around, causing Tiffany to drop her gun. Andy picks it up and shoots her in the neck, decapitating her in a really cool doll kill.
Yeah, it's pretty sick.
Yeah. The Chuckies remember Andy at this point, and the army starts to debox and try to get him. They exit the back and climb on top of the truck. Andy says, "This is for Kyle," and crashes the truck off the gorge where Jake and Devin shared their first kiss. And we head to our title card. Who knows? Are all the Chuckies dead? I mean, obviously there's a show, so no. Obviously, I already said Stick Arm Chucky might make a return. Oh, spoiler, kind of.
Yeah, no, he is.
Yeah. Spoiler, this truck of Chuckies were the only Chuckies left, so if the show was going to continue, there had to be a Chucky that survived. Sorry for the spoiler. Andy, though, we don't know.
Yeah.
No, is he dead? Maybe. I don't know.
Probably not, no.
Yeah.
I would have to venture a guess.
Jake and Devin, I already said that. I went too far. Yeah, we head to our title card, which in this episode, if you don't know about the title cards, because, maybe this is your first episode of our podcast. Every episode of the title card Chucky is, the word Chucky, but it's made up of different things. This time around, it is
Jack
Chucky.
Lemmons.
Yeah, all Jack. They all have Chucky themes, in some capacity. Yeah. We head to Jake being dropped off by his foster parents and brother to say goodbye to Devin. Jake is played by Zachary Arthur. Devin is played by Bjorgvin Arnerson. And Jake's foster brother, Gary, is played by Simon Webster. I didn't write down who his foster parents are played by because they don't ever literally get a line. They have names. It's Pam and Larry, but they don't ever get a line, so they didn't get written down. Sorry. If the actors of Pam and Larry want to complain, I will gladly let them come on the podcast to complain. And then please tweet about it if they are. Devin says, "I guess this is it." Jake says, "Well, only for now. I mean, I only live 2 hours away, and I can see you every weekend." Devin says, "Jake, that's not going to happen. It wouldn't be enough anyway." Jake says, "I know. At this point, I'll take what we can get." Jake's foster dad honks the horn. Gary yells, "Let's go, Batman, to the Batcave." Jake responds, "On my way, Robin." Devin says, "You got a fellow foster this time?" Jake says, yeah, he seems okay. I wish I could say the same about Pam and Larry." See, I told you they had names.
They do.
"I want to kiss you so bad right now, but they're watching me. Devin says, I get it. They share I love yous, and then shake hands goodbye. Such a sad moment.
Mm.
And then Jake and his foster family start to drive away when Devin calls out for Jake in the street, and Jake has the car stopped and runs for a big kiss. And Gary says, holy secret identity. Because apparently the Batman he likes is the 60s Batman, which, questionable, but fair. Not my taste in Batman, but, hey, Batman's Batman. Batman's always cool in some capacity.
Or specifically the Batman and Robin movie.
No, this is the
where he goes, holy rusty metal Batman.
That was a callback to the Batman 60s TV show with Adam West. And that's what this is also a reference to. Devin says they're watching, and Jake says, I don't care. They kiss again, and Jake says, I'll see you this weekend. Okay? And we jump to 6 months later. And I can't believe the Rainbow Cult got to Chucky again. Which, if you're, once again, first-time listener, I'm joking. It's based off of one comment on Shudder that really pissed me off. And I will bring it up every time that something gay happens in the show because it's funny to me to make fun of those people who are stupid and bigots. And if you don't like that, get lost.
Yeah. We got nothing for you. Sorry about it.
It's 6 months later. It's now Halloween night in Salem, New Jersey. Which, fun fact, I actually did look it up, is actually 2 hours away from Hackensack, New Jersey.
Oh, nice.
So, they actually made sure it was accurate here with that. Also, I will say there has to be some sort of, timeline thing that they don't ever officially say with that last scene having to have been a few months after the last season without ever saying it. And it makes sense because there's, dialogue where, Jake talks about, or Devin says, oh, this time you have a foster brother, which means it wasn't his first foster home he was in, but the first one where he's moving. And also the 6 months just don't line up if not, because, the last season took place probably around November, most of it. So, and, time passed in that last season, but even if let's say it got all the way to, January, that's still, 10 months away, so there's at least 4 month jump here somewhere.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But we're now 6 months from the kiss scene. And we follow behind a short overall and striped shirt clad redhead. That sounds like a familiar description. Who stops to trick or treat. Jake answers the door and slams it closed before reopening to reveal a kid in clown makeup. They have a funny little back and forth scene. Nothing funny enough that I wrote down, though. It's a cute little scene of this, weird clown kid.
Yeah.
Jake is wearing a Batman costume. Carrie comes down the stairs, says, holy Halloween costumes, Batman. I can't believe you made these. And Jake replies, hey, never forget, real superheroes can sew. Which, fair. I guess. I don't know. I'm just...
Yeah.
I mean, Spider-Man can sew. He made his own suit sometimes, so,
It's true.
He's a pretty cool superhero. That's it. That's my whole comment on the superheroes can sew line.
Oh, okay.
They're about to head out trick-or-treating when Jake gets a phone call, and it's Ghostface. Well, actually, it's an unknown caller asking, is Tamara home? In a reference to The Strangers. Because they always say it's also very, I make my is Ghostface joke anytime a phone call happens.
It is very Ghostface.
This is definitely playing off of Scream as well. But the line specifically about Tamara is a line that the Strangers ask the people in The Strangers.
I do love that movie, but I do not recall that. But it's also been a long time since I've watched The Strangers.
I know that one more because of research, not because I haven't seen The Strangers, but.
It's valid.
Don Mancini did say it was specifically a reference to The Strangers.
Huh.
So it's Jake tells him he has the wrong number. Jake thinks it's a video call from Devin, who's mad because Jake is still in Salem. Jake apologizes, telling him he's not going to make it. Devin is mad because he waited to tell him because, he's already making dinner for them. Which, fair, if Jake obviously made costumes for him and, Gary. He knew he wasn't going. He could have at least said something a little sooner.
Told him.
Yeah. Jake says his foster parents wouldn't let him go. They're still not cool with them. Devin says, screw them. They're not your real parents. Jake says, yeah, but they could be. And Devin asks, why would you even want them if they don't accept you? Jake says, not everyone is just going to get it automatically. I mean, you lucked out. Devin says, yeah, my foster mom is awesome.
Yep.
She showed me off to all her rich friends, and then she went to Paris, and I haven't seen her since, which, dang, that's a bad foster mom. She should probably lose him.
Yeah, probably.
Jake says, Gary's a good kid. He deserves a family, too. He needs me. Devin says, what about me, Jake? It's been like 6 months. I miss you. Jake says, I know, I miss you too, babe. Gosh darn, Rainbow called throwing the word babe in here. Sorry. But look, I know it sucks, but let's just focus on Christmas break, all right? And Devin says, and what am I supposed to do until then? Jake, you're the only one I can talk to about what really happened. Then Devin asks if he had heard from Lexi at all. Neither of them has. The video call then fails.
Bum, bum, bum.
Jake texts Lexi and gets a phone call from Ghost. Well, actually, it's still the unknown caller asking about Tamara. The caller asks Jake if he's doing anything that night before revealing he knows he's alone with his little brother. Wait, maybe this is Ghostface, because actually, it might be Ghostface actually.
In line with Ghostface's, modus operandi.
Jake asks, "Who is this?" The caller asks, "Where's your boyfriend tonight?" Jake thinks it's a bully named Ellis and hangs up. They call right back. Jake answers, "You know what, Ellis? It's hard enough, or it's bad enough being a homophobic jerk." He definitely calls him a jerk and nothing worse. The really sad thing is it's totally unoriginal. The caller responds, "This isn't Ellis, and I'm not homophobic. I don't discriminate based on anyone's sexual preference. That's not why I'm calling, Jake." Jake asks then, "Why are you calling?" The caller responds, "To make sure you're home. Happy Halloween," and hangs up. Once again, still think this might be Ghostface. This feels like a Ghostface move. The doorbell rings, but no one's there. Once again, this is the Scream 5 opening.
Yeah.
No, 4. Scream 4? It's one of the Scream openings has a scene where they open the door and there's no one there. I know.
Pretty sure it's Scream 5.
Okay. No, it's Scream 4 because it's in the double fake out stab scene. So it's Scream 4. Yeah, Scream 5 is Jenna Ortega getting stabbed.
Well, I'm pretty sure she opens the door at one point and there's no one there.
No, she opens the door and he's there and he stabs her in the gut and she runs away. But this is not a Scream podcast. This is a Chucky's. I know it's confusing. This opening feels very Scream, but it's not Scream right now. So let's get back to Halloween 2. But not Halloween 2, the John Carpenter film, or Halloween 2, the Rob Zombie film.
Correct.
This is Halloween 2, the episode of Chucky.
Season 2, episode 1 of Chucky.
Yeah.
Halloween 2.
Yeah, you understand.
Just to make things
At some point in our podcast history, there will be 3 times the words Halloween 2 are written on episodes.
Yeah. They do play a modified version of the Halloween theme in the beginning of the episode.
Yeah.
Make a Stranger's reference, very clear and obvious Scream reference.
Yeah.
It's everything but Chucky so far.
Kind of, yeah. Well, the opening scene had Chucky in it, so you're fine. They opened with Chucky, so it's okay. Devin video calls Jake, telling him he just got a weird call. Jake tells him it's Ellis, before realizing that he sounded like Sorry, no, wait. It's Chucky. He sounds like Chucky. But Devin says he doesn't think anything could have survived that crash, not even Andy. Which, It's kind of a weird line if you think about it, because I feel like Chucky's definitely more likely to have survived the crash than Andy. Andy is a normal human. Chucky is a doll that has survived some crazy stuff. But whatever, not even Andy.
Yeah, although they do say they never found his body.
That's true. Jake does say that.
Which then, is very clear and obvious. He's probably alive.
But he's not in this episode, so I don't know what you're talking about. Devin says, even if he lived, how come we haven't heard from him? Then they get a video call from the unknown caller, who is trick-or-treating. The door is answered by Caroline Cross, played by Karina Patrick. Chucky, dressed as the ghost of Halloween past, asks Caroline if he can use the bathroom. They're on mute right now, so the boys can't, get her attention. Devin calls the police on his landline. Once again, very Scream to have a landline in, whenever this episode's taking place. It definitely feels like, real time, but also due to timelines set in Cult and Curse, this should actually be in 2017. But unless those timelines got moved up, but there's been dates on the screen in both, so technically the timeline's a little screwy, but hey, who cares?
Yeah.
One of them had dates, both of them had dates in them, and one of them must be wrong, because, this takes place 1 year after Cult. So.
Well, a little after 1 year after Cult.
Maybe. Honestly, the timeline that's given about where Cult takes place doesn't quite make sense in the last episode, because Jake talks about getting a call from Andy a month ago, but then they say 2 weeks ago was when the whole thing happened. So, and that was at Halloween. So, it's, I don't know. The timeline isn't perfect, but who cares? It's a horror movie. They're never perfect. This is honestly closer to a good, solid timeline than most will give you.
It is closer.
Still not perfect, though.
No. It is on par, though, for media. To have a jacked up timeline.
Yeah, pretty much. It's honestly not jacked up enough to feel right. Devin calls the police on his landline, while Jake tries to call Lexi on his landline. They watch as Chucky enters Lexi's room. We head to Lexi, making out on her bed with a kid named Tommy, who's dressed as a vampire. Lexi is played by Olivia Allen Lind, and Tommy is played by Aiden Arthur, Jake's actor Zachary's brother.
Oh.
Yeah. Just cool little another family, tie in this show. It's only for this one episode, for one scene, really. But, hey, that's Jake's brother.
There you go.
Lexi ignores Jake's call, and Chucky ends his video call. Jake, then in anger, stabs his jack-o'-lantern he was carving of Chucky, apparently. It's a little weird, but alright. It was a cool scene transition, I guess. We come back to Lexi and Tommy, who are about to play harmonica, but thankfully are stopped because they're like 15.
Yeah, stop.
Yeah,
stop.
Also, here's the thing: I still love this show, but also, her actress is like 15. Why are you doing this? Stop it. We'll move on.
Yeah.
But yeah, they stop. Thankfully, so Lexi can do a bump of an unnamed drug. It's probably like coke. It looks like coke, but it might not be.
Probably.
I don't know.
That's a rich white people drug.
Yeah. Lost my place. They go back to making out when the police come in because of a report of a break-in. The cops are played by Luis Lambert and Ray Hasildo?
Giseldo?
Sure.
Is it Jaceeldo?
ILDO.
Giseldo, yeah.
They tell her that Devin Evans called in the report. She then checks her phone and sees texts from Jake about Chucky being bagged. The female cop asks if anyone else was in the house. Caroline says the ghost of Halloween past had asked her to use the bathroom and said it was an emergency before saying see you later. Lexi asks how tall was the ghost. The male officer comes back and says there's no sign of anyone. Lexi asks about any dolls. Caroline says, oh no, Lexi, I think it was... But Lexi cuts her off saying, Officer, this is just a misunderstanding. My sister shouldn't be inviting strangers in the house, no matter how bad they have to pee. She asked the female officer.
It's good advice.
It is. I mean, yeah. She asked the female officer to stay until her mother gets home and tells Tommy to leave. We head to Dr. Mixter's office, where Lexi, Caroline, and former mayor Michelle Cross are having family therapy. Dr. Mixter is played by Rosemary Dunsmore. Michelle Cross is played by Barbara Allen Woods, which, hey, once again, if this is your first time, fun fact, actually Olivia Allen Lynn's real mother. And they're playing, mother-daughter. It's cool. I like bringing it up most of the time. That I try to, at least, because it's cool. It's a really cool fact. It's a cool, weird fact that they got to play mother and daughter.
Yeah.
Caroline said he liked to be hugged. He says he was my friend till the end. At first he seemed really nice, but he lied. He had secrets. Chucky always had secrets. Dr. Mixter asks, what were Chucky's secrets? She says he killed a lot of people. We get flashbacks to the theater before she finishes, including my daddy. Dr. Mixter says, Caroline, you know that it was Junior Wheeler who did that. Michelle says, your sister's boyfriend. Right, Lexi? But, yeah, I guess. I'm sure it made more sense when it was delivered, but on paper I didn't understand how that was supposed to be delivered. I'm sorry. Caroline says, no, tell them, Lexi. You saw him too. And how he's back. And now he's back. Chucky was the ghost of Halloween past. Tell them, Lexi, it was Chucky. And then Lexi says, no, Caroline, it was Junior. Junior killed all those people. Chucky is only a doll. I mean, was. Which is just a heartbreaking scene.
Yeah.
Because, Lexi's doing what she has to. She doesn't want to get thrown into, an...
institutionalized, yeah.
But, the heartbreak of, having your sister's begging for, you're the one person who understands and you're not helping her. That sucks.
It does. And I guess, Mayor Cross, or former Mayor Cross.
Former Mayor, Michelle Cross.
Just decided to forget about... Well, I guess she did get trampled.
She never actually saw Chucky, to be fair.
I thought she did. I thought she was, on the ground and saw him crawling under the seats.
I think so. I think she just gets kicked and, falls over. She sees all the death happening. She should realize it couldn't have been Junior, because, where would he have been? But she did never saw Chucky, from my memory of the scenes. Dr. Mixter says, you understand that, don't you, Caroline? Michelle says, you can't blame her for having a hard time accepting that her own sister couldn't invite a boy like that into our lives. Because, once again, if you don't remember, Michelle sucks.
That is just an awful person, period.
Lexi says, you never liked him, not even before he killed anyone. Michelle says, exactly. I've always been able to read people, and I could tell from day one he was bad news. Lexi says, no, he wasn't like that. He was the sweetest boy in the world. Michelle says, that boy destroyed everything. Your father, very possibly my career, if you haven't seen the latest polls, and your sister's childhood. She can't even sleep without waking up, screaming every night from the nightmares. And she made me get rid of all of her dolls.
Not the dolls.
Which, to be fair, we see in her room later, there are types of dolls there. Maybe she means specifically, humanoid dolls, but whatever. There's, stuffed animal stuff in her room.
Yeah, I wouldn't say stuffed animals or dolls.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. Dr. Mixter says, yes, it's called pediophobia. She then pulls out a wedding bell doll to give Caroline for therapeutic purposes. Wedding bell will look familiar, as it's the doll Tiffany was before her makeover.
It's true.
Oh my. Mixter asks Caroline if she would like to hold her. Caroline looks for help from her mother, who encourages her to hold Belle. Mixter asks if Caroline would like to take her home. Caroline once again looks for help from her mother, who says sure. once again, just heartbreaking moments.
Yeah.
I mean, there's
Michelle,
no, like, there'll never be, like, a term for it, because, one, they don't typically do enough acting to deserve, national treasure status. But I want to, give Caroline a nod, Karina Patrick a nod for being up there with, like, Alex Vincent of being, like, some of the best children's actors I've ever seen in movies or TV.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of bad ones. And they're really good, both of them. But yeah, there's no word for it. She's not a national treasure yet. Maybe someday. But yeah, that's it. I just wanted to give her credit for being a really good kid actor.
Fair.
Also, I guess to be fair, all of the main cast of like the show are also technically kids. So credit to them too. They're teens. So I expect more from them as actors, but they are still technically kids. So credit to them for playing some really hard roles at times. So yeah. And I guess credit to the adult actors. I'm getting credit, whatever. Dr. Mixer says she'll be a good friend to you, and then we head to an interview Michelle is doing with a reporter named James, played by Kabir Bajiria, who was actually the reporter back in episode 7 of last season. I didn't mention his name at that point because it was like he only had like one line there, but now that he's in this full scene, I'll definitely say who he is and say, hey, he was in that last episode too.
He was.
James asks, after voters overwhelmingly recalled you from office after the murders last year, the single most violent era in our city's history, you're running for a second term, and I have to ask, why do you deserve my vote now? Michelle replies, as a survivor of violence myself, I think I occupy a unique position of empathy for everyone who lost someone in last year's tragic events. I know exactly what they're going through, because I'm going through it too. The grief, the anger, the guilt, the survivor's guilt.
Survivors, yeah.
Yeah, no, she says, like, the guilt. She has to correct herself because she wants to make sure no one thinks, she doesn't want to be perceived as being guilty.
Yeah, not responsible for the death of all those people.
Yeah. But I promise every citizen of Hackensack that in my second term as mayor, I will show no mercy to violent offenders. One strike and you're out. James responds, I heard you had a break-in last night. What would you say to the perp? She responds, I'd just like to dare him to try that again while I'm home.
Which is ironic because she never is.
Yeah. He asks, and how about you, Lexi? How are you holding up? Lexi responds, well, it's been a really tough year, but I'm getting through it with my family's help. Michelle jumps in. We're getting through it together. Like all of us in Hackensack, we're strong. Hackensack strong. It's so cheesy and like over the top. It's great. I love it. Once again, I did jokingly go, credit the adult, but credit to Barbara here. Her portrayal of this character, it makes me hate her, which is what she's supposed to be doing. She does such a good job at this. And it also feels so real. There are definitely, two-faced politicians like this in the world. Yeah. So
his entire life is just their run for office.
Yeah.
Icky.
James asks Caroline, how about you? She says, I'm fine. James asks, whatever happened to Chucky? Michelle says, excuse me? And James continues, as I recall, she used to drag that thing everywhere. Michelle says, she has a new doll now. Her name is Belle. James asks, does Belle tell you to do things too? Michelle asks, what are you talking about? And James replies, well, at a press conference last year, she said, Chucky told me to kill Mommy. Remember? Michelle, for the first time, actually does some okay parenting. Not good, but okay at least. Tells him immediately to get out of her house, ending the interview. Which, could also be she's mad about it not looking good for her, but it almost looks like she's protecting her kids. Maybe on accident to protect herself. She might accidentally be falling into okay parenting. Later in the night, Lexi tells Caroline Dr. Mixter is full of crap. Caroline sighs and says, I knew it. Lexi adds, Mom too, She then gives Belle the old bang it on the ground to prove it's not possessed test. She passes. But Lexi ties her up in a rocking chair just to be safe. Lexi says...
All dolls are bad.
Yeah, she does. Lexi said you should be afraid. Caroline, dolls are horrifying. Never trust any doll. They're effed up. She doesn't say effed, but I normally would like cut out the curve. But it's very important to like the other lines in this scene. So Caroline says, "You said the F word," which is always cute when kids point out when people curse. It's fun. That's a child's play / Chucky tradition.
It is.
Lexi says, "I know what I said. That is how serious it is, Caroline. Now say it. Dolls are effed up." Caroline says dolls are effed up. Which they made a kid say the F word. Oh.
Yeah. Cancel this show.
Okay.
No, please don't.
But if we do, it should be because of the rainbow cult.
Nah, it's because they made
had
a kid curse.
It's not the first time they did it. Last season they had the good guy doll voice in like one of the intros say, and now, and last time on effing Chucky. Or previously on effing Chucky, that's the line. But yeah, really, they should cancel the show. How dare they? And by cancel the show, I mean make it at least like 5 more seasons, please. I love it. I don't want it to ever end.
The thing about it is there is only so many Chucky dolls.
Yeah, but you can always like They've made 7 movies, and like there's always ways to make more Chuckies.
We'll see.
But yeah, Caroline says the F word. Lexi has her also repeat, "Never trust any doll." And Lexi tells her, "You can't tell anyone or they're going to send you away." She has her cross her heart and gives her a knife for protection. Now we head to Devon's, who gets a text about Belle as Jake sneaks into his window. Devon throws him on the bed and they kiss.
So aggressive.
I know. Jake tells him they need to get Lexi because with Belle, and if Chucky was really at her house last night, why didn't he kill her when he had the chance? Devon says maybe he's just messing with us, or maybe he's trying to get one of us to kill again. Devon grabs his stun gun and they head out. They head through Lexi's window now, and exchange hugs. Jake questions why she was smoking weed after she quit. Gosh. And she says, "It's just a little weed. What's the big deal?" Jake says it's no big deal if that's all she's doing. And she lies and says it is.
Which we all know that it's not.
She asks Devon what he found out about Caroline's doll. He tells her she looks a little like the Bride of Chucky. Remember that movie? Jake says, "Yeah, with Jennifer Tilly." Which I want to pause here and say that movie does not exist in their world. The movie they would be referring to is Chucky Goes Psycho, was the movie where they told the story of what we know as Bride of Chucky. So I don't know what they're talking about, this Bride of Chucky movie. So they mean Chucky Goes Psycho? Come on. Remember your own material, Dawn.
That is a valid point.
But, a lot of people probably won't remember. If I hadn't just covered, that, 5 weeks ago, I might not have remembered that there was what the name of the movie within the movie was called in Seed of Chucky. Jake says, yeah, with Jennifer Tilly, who we know really is the Bride of Chucky, Tiffany Valentine. They head to Caroline's room and find Belle is in her bed. Devon says maybe it's a coincidence. Jake asks if she tested it. Lexi says she did, and it came from their therapist, who can't be in league with a supernaturally possessed doll. We hear that Michelle's coming up towards the room because she heard Lexi talking. So Jake and Devon hide in the closet. Michelle asks what's going on. Lexi says she was just checking on Caroline. Michelle asks, who were you talking to? Lexi says, I was singing her a lullaby, the way Dad used to. Michelle is happy that Caroline is sleeping finally and not having nightmares. And her and Lexi leave. Jake and Devin then sneak out of the room shortly after. After they leave, we see Caroline is awake and has the knife in her hand. Bum, bum. In the morning, Lexi comes downstairs, and she sees Caroline with Belle and says, Caroline, what did I tell you last night? And Caroline says, Belle's okay. She's not like Chucky. She's just a doll. And I don't want Mommy to get mad anymore. Aw.
Valid.
Yeah. Lexi takes 2 apples upstairs to Jake and Devin. Lexi tells them maybe the other night was just a prank because they were pretty famous for a while after the murders. And there are some sick buttholes out there with way too much time on their hands. Jake says, yeah, some sick butthole who was able to get all our numbers and who also happens to just be 2 feet tall. Lexi says, short people can be buttholes. And you know, it's fair.
They can.
But
it's
also,
not
what's the coincidence? That's kind of a coincidence, though, that there was also, a little bit, maybe Lexi's trying to make it not be there. Lexi seems a little weird, a little off, but says she's fine and goes to the bathroom, where she cuts 2 of her mom's panic disorder sedatives to prep them to snort.
I think they were clonazepam.
Oh, I didn't write down the exact name of the drug, because then I would still have to describe what it is, because people won't know the name of the drug.
A pretty famous one.
I had never heard of it, but I'm not saying that people don't, because, I don't really know, my panic disorder sedatives.
Fair.
Downstairs, Caroline answers the door, finding Gary holding Chucky with a homemade bomb. Gary says, holy homemade bomb, Batgirl! Caroline says, I'm not Batgirl. And Gary replies, sorry, I mean Batwoman, because he's a gentleman. She says, my name is Caroline. Gary says, you're not playing it right. She says, I'm still alive, aren't I? And Chucky says, not for long. At this point, we cut to a commercial break, which I normally don't bring up, but the scene then continues in the same room, so I have to. Jake and Devin come downstairs and find Gary, Caroline, and Chucky in the living room. Chucky makes them sit down and explains how he made his bomb, which I believe would be a TOS violation, so we're just going to skip over how he made the bomb. Chucky explains it will kill anyone in a 6-foot radius. Gary says, holy hostage situation, Batman. Chucky says, okay, that's already getting old. Which, fair, but not. The cute's cute enough that it works. But it is good that this is one of the last times we hear him saying one of these Batman lines.
What?
Because he just have another line for a little bit here. I don't know what you're talking about. Jake says, Gary, it's going to be okay. Gary says, he's going to blow us into smithereens. Jake says, no, Gary. I won't let that happen. I promise. This isn't a game, okay? How'd you get here? Chucky says Uber and praises how much they've, helped being a killer doll. Maybe it was a, Uber ad. I'm not sure. It was a funny little line. I don't think it's really advertising, but it could be, I guess. I mean, that's a weird advertising choice.
It would be weird advertising to advertise how much it's helped a serial killer.
Doll, though. Specifically a possessed doll. And spoiler for real life, those aren't real.
Aww.
Jake tells Chucky not to do anything stupid. Chucky laughs and says, stupid would be you and your BFFs falling right into my trap. See, I needed the 3 of you back together so I could kill you all at once. But you never got back together. So much for BFFs. I hang out with my murder victims more often than you see each other. Devin says, we've been busy. And Chucky says, well now, you're all going to get busy dying. Just as soon as Lexi gets down here. Upstairs, Lexi is still prepping her drugs.
And crushing them up.
Yeah. Jake says, just let the kids go. And Chucky says, nah, more the merrier. Jake asks why he's doing it. Chucky explains that there were 72 of me on that truck. I was going to take over the world, and I would have gotten away with it if it wasn't for you meddling kids and Andy. And
so now it's Scooby-Doo.
Yeah, and an obscenity-filled descriptor for Tiffany. I'm gonna kill every last one of you. Devin asks, wait, how many of you are left? Chucky says, enough to make this worth the sacrifice. Jake secretly texts Lexi while Chucky explains how he won't really die, because, there's more of him. I guess. I mean, we don't know. We only see this one.
We do know.
Maybe
because he does
bluffing.
Explicitly
Maybe
state.
He's bluffing, though. He is an evil killer. Do you not remember what Caroline said? Chucky lies. He always lies.
Yeah, but I've watched episode 2, so I know there's another Chucky.
We're not at that point yet! Upstairs, Lexi finally snorts her drugs. I feel like this took way too long for someone who seems to be as, drugged out as she is. I feel like she would have been a little more efficient at this.
Would think, yeah.
Jake asks about Andy. Chucky says Andy is dead. Devin says, and Kyle. Chucky says they're both dead. Jake says he doesn't believe him. And we haven't seen any of their bodies, so I guess it's a fair assessment. Chucky says, well, you'll see them in hell. Dang. Lexi finally comes downstairs. She stops on the stairs when she sees Chucky. Devin then stuns Chucky, making him drop the bomb. Gary, laughing, grabs it and runs to the dining room and stops in his track when he sees Belle doing nothing. And Chucky jumps on his back and blows up the bomb, killing Gary.
Yep.
They killed a kid. That's crazy.
Good.
It doesn't happen that often.
They were going to kill about 5 kids, actually.
Yeah, but they didn't, though.
Yeah, instead they just killed.
No, I'm not.
So it's actually much lower.
I'm not saying that Chucky hasn't threatened to kill kids and is willing to. I'm saying horror doesn't have the balls to kill kids that often, and they did.
Yeah.
We head to Dr. Mixter's office, where the DA is giving a serious guilt trip to the kids about how Gary's parents, how hurt they're gonna be. The DA is played by Paul Rivers. Jake says that they're Gary's foster parents, and they don't love Gary like he did. The DA says thanks to his actions and negligence, Gary is dead. Fair.
Because they did a silly prank and made a homemade bomb.
Yeah.
Which was very sophisticated looking.
Yeah.
And I'm sure 2, 3 15-year-olds could definitely put it together.
I mean, they might be able to. I don't know. 15-year-olds do a lot of weird stuff, man.
Nothing that smooth and machined looking.
I mean, but he's a doll who we've never seen have experience doing bombs, but he was able to do it. I think you might just have pointing out a problem with the bomb they chose to use. Not.
I'm sure they got it from Glenda.
Maybe. That's possible. DA says, I said that. Dr. Mixter kind of pipes into this point and gets them sent to the School of the Incarnate Lord in Burlington because of great successes she's had in the past, rehabilitating kids there. On the bus there, Devin brings up how Chucky's never done a kamikaze mission like that before, which is true, but they really wouldn't know that about anything but the last time they dealt with him. But
yeah,
and that,
as far as they know,
that's true. Yeah, and that means more Chuckies are out there. They made it off that crash. Devin tries to console Jake, but he's not very receptive. Lexi tells a story about a bully named Trevor who made her the jerk she was at the start of the start of the last season, and how he was sent to this school they're going to.
Bump.
Devin tries to joke that maybe Chucky will get him, and Jake tells him, "Hey, don't joke about that." Which, fair, honestly. That's kind of a screwed up thing to joke about, even if the guy is a jerk.
Yeah.
Jake and Devin realize that the school used to be the Burlington home of wayward boys, where Charles Lee Ray spent his youth.
Bum.
They're welcomed by Sister Ruth. Sister Ruth is played by Laura Jean Korostecki, who is in Hannibal. She asks, "Do you know why you're here?" Lexi says, "Because God hates us." Sister Ruth says, "God doesn't hate anyone and loves us even when we've lost our way. He wants you to seek forgiveness and to find your way back to him. And if you're not careful, you might even have a little fun along the way." Under her breath, Lexi says, "He hates us so much." She might have thrown an obscenity in there, but who cares? After they head in, a familiar-sized box is delivered.
That's right.
And that's the end of episode 1. My thoughts are it's good. What a surprise. I mean, it's a really good start to season 2, honestly. I think it really sets the tone right. It does a really good job taking the story from where it was and like all within one episode, but not feeling rushed, getting us from the point where they were to this new point they want this season to be in. Yeah, that's my thought. And, yeah, I like it. They cover most of the storylines except for, they don't, in that episode, they don't go into, the whole Nika Tiffany story, which is, an interesting one, but,
Yeah, which is fine, because in episode 2, that's going to be, like, half of it.
Yeah, but I could feel like if you were watching it live, you might be like, well, Nika just had her arms and legs cut off. That was one of the last things we saw. What's going on there? But,
Sure.
Also, maybe, for the first episode of the season, where you are trying to hope maybe get some new people in, that's a really confusing story to have to explain the Nika, Jennifer Tilly, Tiffany storyline. That's a confusing story. Maybe get them in with those young kids first. But yeah, I liked it. Do you have any thoughts about that episode before we move on to episode 2?
I also enjoyed it. I thought there were a few slightly goofy jumps. Mainly the homemade bomb thing.
That's fair.
It's like I don't buy it. But also the people in authority are not going to believe that a doll made a homemade bomb either. So it is valid. Not a whole lot of other conclusions to go off of. But yeah, I liked all the references in this one. To the myriad of other horror media out there. It was very neat to kind of pick up on all those throughout the episode, and let's get on to episode 2.
All right, let's do that. Season 2, episode 2, The Sinners Are Much More Fun. Directed by Samir Rahem. Written by Don Mancini and Mallory Westfall. All other crew is the same as the last episode. We open with Tiffany finding the head of doll Tiffany in her bed in kind of I think that's the Godfather Part 2 homage? Maybe Godfather Part 1.
Yeah, the horse head and the
horse head. She then makes a breakfast and takes it to her prisoner, Nika Pierce, played by national treasure Fiona Dorff.
That's right.
Nika questions the screaming she heard, and Tiffany says she had a bad dream. Nika says it was probably her conscience. And Tiffany then starts to feed Nika breakfast because she has no arms or legs, thanks to Tiffany. Yeah, if you didn't know that, yeah, she could. I said it earlier, so I guess you would know it.
Yeah.
But yeah. Nika is sad for the, justifiable reasons of being an armless, legless prisoner. Fair.
Yeah, pretty rough.
But Tiffany says they don't need to leave. Look around. Everyone says Jennifer Tilly has impeccable taste. And Nika points out, "You're not Jennifer Tilly."
Yeah.
Tiffany says, "Another reason you can never leave." Tiffany pulls out her nail file and cuts her hand because she needs to talk to Chucky, and blood is the thing that sends Chucky into control over Nika.
Or smacking her in the head also.
It's typically, I think, blood, yeah. Blood will take Nika to... Yeah, it depends. But yeah, so she pulls Chucky into, control. He says, "Hiya, doll." Tiffany says, To be fair, it is still, if you don't know the series, it is still Fiona Dorff playing the voice, but doing her impression of her dad.
Right.
Tiffany says, "Hello, Chucky," and yells an obscenity as she asks what her decapitated doll head is. Chucky laughs and says, "Oh, I'm coming for you, Tiff. You only think I'm stuck in that chair? You're gonna pay for what you did to me, doll. You and those kids, you're all dead." And then in a sing-song way, he closes with, "I'm gonna see you all rotting in the ground." How sweet. We head to our title card, made up of framed photos, where on one side it's Chucky and on the other side it's Nika. Because this episode is a two-sided story of Chucky and Nika. I guess that's my interpretation, because normally I can kind of figure it out. This one is a little bit like, okay. But I guess, half the story is dealing more with, Chucky, and the other half of the story is dealing more with Nika. As well as, the whole, they're the two sides of the same coin, I guess. I don't know.
I would have said it's probably more that.
I just feel like they don't delve into that part that much in the story.
Yeah, but this is where they revealed that.
Yeah, I guess it's fair. All right. Well, the point is, the next part happens after they come out of that. I gotta find my spot. We head to the School of the Incarnate Lord, where Sister Ruth walks Devin, Jake, and Lexi into the chapel where Father Bryce is giving the homily. Which, if you're not,
very familiar voice.
Yeah, if you don't know what a homily is because you're not Catholic, that's their sermon, their religious speech. If you don't even know what a sermon is, which is fair,
Who is Father Bryce played by?
Oh, Father Bryce is played by Devin Sawa.
That's right, he's back.
Yeah.
The third lost brother.
I mean, they never say that. At least not from where I've made it. I don't think he's supposed to be. It's like how in, the Nathan Cross was also the doctor in the same the actor, not Michael played both of them. And, same idea. Don Mancini likes to recast people sometimes, and I'm fine with it. It started back in, Bride and Deceit of Chucky's, where, Jennifer Tilly looked just like Tiffany Valentine did as a human. And I'm cool with it if it means we get more Devon Sawa, because he's great.
Devon Sawa is just a very solid actor.
Yeah. His homily is about how sin and God are both choices. He used the metaphor of saying we're on God's team. Lexi says, "I despise sports metaphor," which is actually a callback to a joke that I skipped over when it actually happened and the first time it happened. But there was a point where her mom and her dad were fighting, and she told Nathan she hated sports metaphors. So it's, kind of showing that her and her mom do have some similarities. After the homily, they meet Nadine, who is played by Bella Higginbotham, who is, I just want to, before we even get to her more in this, I love Nadine as a character. Nadine? She is so adorable. She's such a breath, not that there were bad, none of the characters in this show are bad, but just it's another one of those times where you go, all right, another new character, and then you go, oh, I needed this character in my life forever. This character is amazing.
Yeah, Nadine is very wholesome.
She's so adorable, but also not fully wholesome. It's great.
Yeah, as we will.
Yeah. She asks what they're in for, but they get distracted by asking if they're supposed to take communion. Nadine explains that if they're not Catholic, no. Lexi asks if Nadine is a heathen too, and she says no, but she sinned this morning and can't take communion until she goes to confession. Lexi asks what she did, and Nadine just kind of smiles.
Doesn't
back.
answer.
No answer, just smiles and turns away. I love Nadine.
Yeah.
Lexi tells Jake and Devin that the altar boy is Trevor, played by Jordan Cronus. She says he's evil, he's brilliant, he could teach Chucky a thing or two. We head to Father Bryce's office, where Sister Ruth takes the gang's phones, and Sister Elizabeth gives them their uniforms. Sister Elizabeth is played by Marcia Bennett. Also, I didn't write down any of the dialogue in this scene, but I really do like the little dialogue between Elizabeth and them. It's really the best. There's a joke about Lexi wanting a smaller size than what she's allowed to wear there, But the funniest joke was when she finds out Devin's waist. She's like, "You're too skinny," and he's like, "Thank you." Like in like the like he's so like happy when she calls him underweight. It's great. Father Bryce comes in and introduces himself to the gang and asks them, "Do you know why you're here?" Jake says, "Because God wants us to seek forgiveness and find our way back to him." Father Bryce says, "Very good, Sister Elizabeth." And Sister Ruth jumps in and says, "Actually, I told them that. I met with them when they arrived this morning."
Yeah, Sister Ruth is the suck-up.
Yeah. Well, no. We're about to find out they're both suck-ups. They just are both competing to be the suck-up. Because Sister Elizabeth says, "I started cataloging everything in the Christmas toy drive." Father Bryce turns to Sister Ruth and says, "I thought you were doing that." And Sister Ruth responds, "It's still weeks away." Because, you know, it is right after Halloween. It's a little early to need to catalog everything from the toy drive. But, you know,
it's valid.
It shows that they are both kind of competing to be the suck-up for Father Bryce. Father Bryce says, "Well, that's wonderful, Sister Elizabeth. No time like the present. Sister Ruth, why don't you help Edward in the kitchen? Sister Catherine and I will show these kids to their rooms. Follow me." Him and the kids leave. Sister Ruth says, "By the way, we received a new donation this morning for your toy drive. It's the familiar-sized box sent from no one. Once again, someone sent it, but no one sent it? How? They open it, and it's a good guy doll. Of course it is. What do you think of it? It's a familiar-sized box. That's what it is. It's a familiar size for a reason, guys." Sister Ruth does the sign of the cross because she says, "The Lord's image, plain as day, right there on the doll's face." Sister Elizabeth asks, "Didn't you see his image in a taco at lunch last week?" And Sister Ruth says, "That was different." And Sister Elizabeth says, "Speaking of tacos, hadn't you be getting down to the kitchen?" We then head to the second floor where Sister Catherine shows Lexi to her room. Sister Catherine is played by Andrea Carter. Her roommate is Nadine!
Yippee!
Who won't switch beds because she needs to be close to the bathroom on account of her bladder condition.
Bladder problem.
Yeah.
Maybe like another certain character that we know in this franchise.
I didn't even think about that's definitely why she has a bladder condition.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, I don't know this for sure, but she is a ginger and she has a bladder condition.
I can tell you something. Spoiler, she's not, because we see them showing up at the end of...
Well, no, I know they're not Glenn.
But they want you to think it, yeah. They are neither Glenn nor Glenda, but they want you to wonder. Now, I didn't even think about the bladder, but yeah, that is definitely why, because she's pissing her pants!
Yeah.
But she doesn't, but, she could have. Also, she wears a skirt. It wouldn't be pants. Unless we're doing British pants and talking about underwear, and then she could be pissing her pants. We're moving on.
Anyway.
But yeah, she has a bladder condition and won't move because of it. We head to the third floor, where Father Bryce is taking Devin and Jake to their room. Jake tells Devin they need to keep them on the down low because Catholics aren't exactly down with the gays, and if they screw this up, they're going to be sent to juvie, which, is a sad truth of what their lives they are living right now.
Yeah.
Back to Lexi and Nadine. Lexi is starting to take off her makeup, and Nadine says, "You're so pretty," and Lexi says, "Not for long," and Nadine says, "I've never been friends with someone so glam before," and Lexi says, "And now you never will be," and Nadine says, "Oh, please, you don't need all that makeup, you're just naturally glam," and Lexi says, "No, I mean we're not going to be friends. I don't need any more friends. They just move away, get busy, fall in love, and they couldn't possibly understand what I'm going through anyway. Besides, I don't plan on being here very long." And Nadine says, "No one ever does." And then Lexi asks, "How long have you been here?" And Nadine says, "Since 7th grade. I don't know. We don't know how old she is. I don't know how long that is, but,
Yeah, presumably not super, I guess super long thing.
Yeah, I assumed that they were in
probably 3.
Yeah, I assumed they were in 8th grade last year, the main cast, and they all seem to be in the same grade with her. I mean, maybe. I don't know.
They're 15, and that's what?
Yeah, they don't
sophomore year?
Did they ever directly say how old they are, though?
No.
Yeah, so I'm the act. I believe that this is them going into freshman year. So if she's been there since 7th grade, she's been there, this is her 3rd year, is what my, like, headcanon is, because they don't directly say.
Yeah, that'd be my guess.
If she's the same age as them. She does look a little younger, so I don't know. But that could just be that she's got, like, a mousy frame. Who knows?
Yeah. She does seem a little bit mousy.
But it also doesn't feel like there really are multiple classes. It feels like, for the most part, everyone's in the same classes all the time. So I don't know.
Yeah.
But, you know, at some point, though, there's no way that's how the school could be functioning. Unless it's like an old school, like, you know, schoolhouse, you know? I don't know. The point is, Nadine is not going to be her friend. And has been there a very long time, possibly. She adds that my parents couldn't control me. And Lexi says, really? Nadine, why are you here? Nadine says, why are you here, Lexi? I'll tell you my secrets if you tell me yours. As she skips away, because she is just the most adorable character ever.
Yeah.
Lexi says, like to herself, trust me, you don't want to know. She then takes one of her mom's pills, but like as a pill this time. Back to Jake and Devin's room. Father Bryce says, I'm sure you boys are anxious to get on the straight and narrow. Get your which I think that was a joke on them being, the characters being gay. Because there was like a pause after straight and narrow. That was maybe just me adding it there. You know, me just assuming that the rainbow cult was at it again. But I could be wrong. He then says, get your lives back on track. Back on the right track. Back on the fast track to God. And Devin says, I just love sports metaphors. Father Bryce says, me too. And tells them to get ready for class and leaves. Jake starts to have like a panic attack and starts crying about how it's all his fault. But you know, I mean, kind of. Just kidding. Devin's comes over to comfort him with a hug. We head to Lexi and Nadine. Lexi sees Trevor and decides she needs to come out swinging and show him who's boss. So she goes over and tells his friends he was born with only one testicle.
Bum, bum.
His response is, Lexi, I made your life a living hell back in the day. And for that, I am truly sorry. I hope you can forgive me. For what it's worth, I'm not the same person I was back then. Lexi asks, so who are you? He replies, someone who's not ashamed of having only one testicle, I guess. His friend Tom says, banish anxiety from your heart and cast out the troubles of your body. His friend Jerry continues, for youth and vigor are meaningless. Tom finishes, Ecclesiastes 11:10. Trevor says, I can only imagine what you've gone through this past year. Everyone's talking about it. All those murders, dating a deranged killer, and that poor soul taken in your own home. But I think the Lord brought you here so I can finally make things right with you. And I thank God for the opportunity. It'd be a sin to waste it. Peace be with you. And he just seems like a creep still.
Yeah.
Tom is played by Christian DiStefano of Clown. And Jerry is played by Darielle Ivy Chambers. We head to class where Sister Catherine is teaching about the 7 deadly sins. Jake knows about the 4 wages of sin, to Lexi and Devin's surprise. Thought he wasn't Catholic. Why does he know this Catholic stuff? Nadine asks why Catholics need to worry about sin if they have confession. And Sister Catherine explains that redemption can't really happen without a long, hard look in the mirror. Jake asks her if there are any sins that are just unforgivable. And Sister Catherine says, well, I sure hope not, because then I'm really in trouble, because she's the fun nun.
Yay, fun nun.
Yeah, she's the fun. Oh, dang it, that doesn't work. You know?
The fun.
Yeah, she's the fun nun, or as I like to call her, fun. Oh. We head to Father Bryce's office, where Sister Elizabeth is working on the toy drive. Chucky falls down, and she picks him up. He says, hi, I'm Chucky, want to play? And she says, not particularly. He then falls again after she walks away, and she just decides, whatever, he can be on the ground. We, the audience, see that he's moved. What?
Pop up.
And he hops on the desk in front of her, and she falls back having a heart attack. He says, "Oh, stop. Really? Just looking at me is scary enough to give you a heart attack? Oh my god, thank you. You made my day." She, what the heck is that even saying? She tries. I just didn't spell tries right at all. I don't know why I wrote that. She tries to ward him off with her crucifix. He says, wait. That's vampires, right? And then pretends to be a vampire. As she dies, he says, "I'm Chucky. Wanna pray?" I get it, because it sounds like play.
But,
And this line would maybe not be terrible for me, at least, if I had not seen it in the trailer nonstop when this was coming out, because the whole theme of the season is they're at this. So this is one of those scenes. Yeah, this is one of the scenes that it was in like every trailer was the "I'm Chucky, wanna pray," and I'm like it was so overdone for me at this point that I'm like, ugh, this line. It's kind of a cute, clever line, but I've heard it so many times I hate it.
And that's on the marketing team.
Yeah. He takes a picture of her dead body with a phone. What? All the students crowd.
He's going to become an influencer now.
Yeah, pretty much. All the other students crowd outside. I guess all the students, not other. All the students crowd outside Father Bryce's office. The gang is flipped off by Chucky. There's actually a really funny line before they flip him off where Devin's like, "Look at this, he's just taunting us," and Lexi's like, "He's not doing anything," and he's like, "Exactly." It's diabolical. It was really a funny line, and then he flips them off.
Yeah.
Father Bryce closes the door and talks about how Sister Elizabeth has been called home and sends them back to class saying, "Idle hands are the devil's playground," which is a reference to the movie Idle Hands, a horror comedy that stars Devon Sawa. About a hand being possessed by like a demon, of like a stoner. We're watching it later this year. Don't worry, you'll know about it. I've seen like the first half of it. Had to stop because of like other reasons, but the first half was fun. So,
got it.
The gang hangs out in the hall discussing what to do as everyone else goes to class. Jake blames himself for all their dead loved ones. And then Father Bryce comes up and tells them, "Look, I know your history. Dr. Mixter filled me in. It's just a doll," and sends them off to class. Jake says, "That guy reminds me of my dad."
I wonder why.
Get it? Because it's Devon Sawa.
Yeah.
It's the double Devon Sawa joke in like a scene and a half. Hey, do you know Devon Sawa's in Idle Hands? Hey, remember he was in season 1? It's like, alright, yes, I do, but thank you. We head to Tiffany, watching Liar Liar, quoting all of Jennifer Tilly's lines. Nika says, "You do realize that's not you." And Tiffany says, "Of course. Jennifer Tilly did this role long before I took over." Nika says, "This is just sad. Sitting here watching old Jennifer Tilly movies over and over. When was the last time you booked a job?" Tiffany says, "Nika, I told you. We have everything we need right here in this house." Nika says, "Yeah, but at the rate you're going to lose this house. I know you went through all of Jennifer Tilly's Simpsons money. How does someone go through $100 million?" Which I was really confused by this line, because I was like, "Oh, was Jennifer Tilly on The Simpsons?" And I looked up, oh, she was in an episode. That doesn't seem like the right amount of money. But then I just Googled, like, Jennifer Tilly's Simpsons, kind of Googled this line. And apparently, Jennifer Tilly, now sadly deceased ex-husband, Sam Simon, was the co-creator of The Simpsons. And she got, once he died, she had control of his estate, and she got 30% of all of the Simpsons grosses. So it was gonna be millions of dollars. So that's where this joke comes from. Apparently, she has, because of her dead ex-husband, has Simpsons money. So that's where the joke comes from. I completely was confused. I was like, what?
That's insane.
Because I was like, did they just not be able to get the rights to the word Family Guy, so they picked a different adult comedy? Because she's famously in Family Guy, and I was like, oh, that would have made a funnier joke in my opinion. But apparently,
who's she in Family Guy?
She's Bonnie Swanson, Joe's wife.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
I was like, that would have been a funnier joke. I don't know why they went with Simpsons. She was in one episode. But apparently it's because she actually would have probably had millions of dollars in Simpsons money.
Yeah, sure would have.
Tiffany says, it's not easy being me. It's not cheap being me either. Nika says, when you first brought me here, I thought I was going to be living with a real movie star. Someone glamorous and exciting. Instead, I got this. I got you, a washed-up imposter, obsessed with her own fake past. You need to get out of this house and get a job, Tiffany. Tiffany says, so you can escape? Nice try, Nika. Nika yells, how the obscenity am I going to escape? Fair, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, she doesn't have any arms or legs.
Yeah. Tiffany says, oh, that reminds me. My darling Glenn and Glenda are coming by this weekend for their birthday celebration. So you know the drill. It's either the ball gag or the chloroform. Your choice. Oh, poop. She says poop for sure. We're all out of chloroform. How did that happen? The doorbell rings, and Tiffany says, oh my god, that's the gate. That's not the gate. It's the front door. Nika yells for help. Tiffany gags her, saying, you're gonna ruin everything. What is wrong with you? How dare she want to not be, a prisoner?
Yeah. Held against the rule.
Yeah. Tiffany goes to her door to talk to Detective Sam Gavin, who jumped the fence to ask her about Nika Pierce. Detective Gavin is played by Sergio Di Zio. She starts saying no in the middle of the questions because before at the end saying, oh, Nika Pierce, yes, I believe I met her when I visited that mental hospital back east. That's one of the causes I'm most passionate about, women with mental health issues. Honestly, this episode is some great Jennifer Tilly act. Like, the small things she does, like, the way she's, like, trying to say, like, no in the middle of his lines and stuff, and, like, her facial reactions when he'd say things that she knows. It was so good.
Yeah, it was very fun to watch.
He tells her that, shortly after your visit, she killed several people and then she escaped. Tiffany says, I can't believe they'd be stupid enough to let her escape. And then she, like, oh, you're still here? And she says, okay, bye, and closes the door on him.
Yeah.
It's great. I love Jennifer Tilly. She's not a national treasure, but she's amazing. She did not make the Godfathered in. Now, maybe she'll be Godfathered in. I'll give you a choice, Chris. We continue the podcast, or we don't. Your choice, Jennifer Tilly. National treasure.
You come to me on the day of our channel's anniversary.
Yeah, and I tell you, make Jennifer Tilly a national treasure.
You request this of me. Yeah. How dare you?
What is this? This is a stupid bit. Why did we do it? Let's move on.
You kept saying Godfather.
I did.
Now we're here.
I know, and that's why we went there. And it was funny. I say to myself to make myself feel better. We head back to study hall. Jake asks to go to the bathroom, and Father Bryce says he has 5 minutes. Jake is not going to the bathroom. He heads to the cafeteria and grabs a plastic knife, and then goes into Father Bryce's office. He grabs Chucky and says, all right, and then multiple obscenities. And then Father Bryce says, really, Mr. Wheeler? Back in the old days, we would have washed your mouth out with soap. But we have different methods of teaching lessons now. This is another one of those times.
Study.
Yeah. Yeah. This is another one of those times where I have to talk about how, hey, we're going to commercial, because we come back literally to Father Bryce still talking to him. But it's like there's a transition in the way it's being done. So yeah. So Father Bryce comes back saying, you've suffered great pain in your young life, but you've also caused great pain. You know why, Jake? You know why? Jake says, I'm sure you'll tell me. Father Bryce says, because you're lost, like every other kid that comes through my door. But this place isn't a prison, Jake. Here, you don't have to be an orphan anymore. You can choose to be a son again of the Heavenly Father. Lay down your burdens and let Him do the heavy lifting. Just let go and let God. All you gotta do is stop fighting, Jake says. I'll never stop fighting, looking right at Chucky. Father Bryce takes the knife, gives him a Bible, tells him a little story about, reading the Bible with his dad growing up, and he leaves him in the room to find a passage that speaks to him, locking him in. Jake asks Chucky, how many of you are there? Or how many of you survived that crash? I don't know why I tried to change the line there. Sorry about that. Oh, come on, this is stupid. I know it's you. Just talk to me, all right? And then he still doesn't talk. So he says, have it your way. And he hits him off the desk with the Bible. He looks over and Chucky's gone. From the fireplace, Chucky takes a photo of him. What? And says, gotcha. And he leaves up the chimney.
Got to get more pictures for his Insta.
Yeah. Father Bryce comes back. That's a good joke, though. That Insta. That was a good one. I cut you off. It was a good joke. I want to make sure it wasn't that I thought your joke was bad. That's what I was thinking. I'm sorry. That was fun. Insta. I'm sorry. I think you mean square pics when they want to actually show it. But if they're going to talk about it, yes, it is Insta.
And we are talking about it. So
you're right. So it's not. You're right. Sorry, my bad. So stupid. Like, I get it. I get why they can't show apps, but then don't constantly write in your script names of apps. Or don't show them.
Whoops.
Like, I love this show. Every other episode, I'm going like, oh, this show's amazing. Like, not every episode, I go, this show's awesome. I love this show. But there are certain things where I go, really? Why? Why are we showing square pics, but then, like, having 10 references at least throughout the series to Instagram?
You get it. You understand.
Yep.
So anyways.
Yep.
Chucky goes up at
Chimney. Father Bryce comes back and asks, where's the doll? Jake says, honestly, I have no idea. Father Bryce asks, did you even open it? Pointing at the Bible. And tells him to open it. Turn to John chapter 8, verse 44. Read it to me, loud and clear. Jake reads, You are from your father, the devil, and you choose to do your father's desires. He was a murderer from the beginning, and does not stand in the truth, because there is no truth in him. When he lies, he speaks according to his own nature, for he is a liar and the father of lies. Father Bryce says, I encourage you to choose the right father. Now where's the doll? Jake responds, I told you, I don't know. Can I go now? And leaves. He comes out and tells Lexi and Devin what happened, and tells them Chucky didn't even try to hurt him. Why would he just take pictures and not try to hurt him? That's the story today.
Curious.
Yeah. Later, we're in Lexi and Nadine's room. Lexi finds out that the doors don't lock, so she gets Nadine's help to move the dresser because she sleepwalks. She also finds out that Nadine steals stuff, and that's why she's here, and that the really good stuff's under her bed.
Yeah.
Later, Lexi is snorting some pills when we see that Chucky's under Nadine's bed. And he takes a picture of Lexi. And then Lexi and Nadine see him before he runs to hide in the bathroom. Lexi and Nadine both scream, bringing the whole school pretty much to their room/doorway. Before they actually come in, though, Lexi tells Nadine to say nothing. Once they do come in, though, Lexi says she was scared of a bathroom. The boys
Being without her bathroom.
Well, first, while she says that, the boys sneak off to the bathroom. As Lexi explains, she was scared of never seeing her old bathroom again. At first, Sister Ruth tries to, reprimand her still, but Father Bryce, he tries to console her about this bathroom issue. We head to the boys, who can't find Chucky in any of the stalls, but then he hops on Jake's back from the hamper, takes him down to the ground. Devin's able to kick him off, though. Then Devin gets on, puts his foot on him and has the knife, and he questions Chucky, but he doesn't answer any of his questions. Devin's about to stab him, but Jake stops him because after looking through the phone, he thinks he knows what Chucky is up to.
Framing them for murder, perhaps.
Maybe. We don't know. At breakfast the next morning, Lexi and Nadine come in. They're having a really fun conversation of Nadine just asking a bunch of questions about him. Like, does he eat? And Lexi's like, I don't know. Does he sleep? I don't know. Does he pee? Does he go to the bathroom? And Lexi's like, I hope not. Which, to be fair, thanks to Glenn/Glenda, we do know that he can pee. He could be pissing his pants.
Yeah.
He also,
we also know he does other things.
Yeah, he also conceived Glenn/Glenda. So, I guess some of the plumbing works, as they say, I believe, in literally that episode or movie.
Yeah.
So I would assume that yes, he can pee if he wants to.
I presume.
Yeah. Lexi and Nadine go up to Jake and Devin to find out if they got Chucky. At first, Jake and Devin are confused, but then Lexi's like, oh yeah, Nadine's cool, she knows.
Yeah.
They all head to Jake and Devin's room, and Jake and Devin show them Chucky tied up. Lexi is pissed, but Jake explains that Chucky is a scout, not an assassin, and they want to find out for who.
And to what end?
Yeah. We had Tiffany, who's baking a cake for Glenn and Glenda, when she hears the gate alarm. Or gate... Yeah, I guess alarm, yeah. She takes Nika to her room and gags her. Tiffany says it's because she still doesn't know how that head got inside her bed. She says maybe Nika and Chucky are talking about her...
Behind her back?
Yeah, behind her back. Maybe the two of them are plotting against her deep inside that pretty little head of Nika's. Tiffany leaves, but at the door... but when she gets to the door, it's not Glenn and Glenda, it's Detective Gavin.
He's back!
Back to Nika, who has a conversation inside her head with Chucky. Nika says, I think she's starting to suspect something. Chucky says, if she finds out we're working together, it's all over. Nika says, listen, butthole. The only reason I ever tolerate you being here is because I have to. Chucky says, after all we've been through, come on, Nika, admit it. I'm growing on you. She says, like leprosy. Then he continues, you need me if we're going to get out of here. Nika says, what I really need is to get you out of my head. And and I need Tiffany to get what's coming to her. Chucky says, you see, Nika, we do have something in common. Then we head back to Detective Gavin, who tells Tiffany, I think Nika Pierce is here. Tiffany confesses, but, she says she's not, it's not true. And, he lets him in, and they start, she says, she asks, do you ever do something that you shouldn't because, you care about someone, something of that nature. And he's like, actually, yes. Or she asks specifically, do you ever have you ever gone against your morals to do something? And then she then slits his throat with her nail file signature, Tiffany, and then says, not me. Morals are for losers.
Yeah.
And then she's still trying to clean up the blood when Glenn and Glenda come in the door.
Yeah, in their they-them license plate.
That's true.
Card.
Yeah. Because, spoiler, I didn't write down the actor, I believe would be the term's name, for the, non-binary actor who plays both Glenn and Glenda. And we will... And both characters are also non-binary. And we'll find out more about them later. Yeah. I didn't write down their name because they were never actually fully seen in this episode. But I will when they're actually in an episode.
We did only see their shoes.
Yeah. And the back of their head.
Their shoulders.
Yeah. I will talk about them when it's time.
Okay, next episode. I think.
I mean, it'll be our next episode, but it's not the next episode of Chucky. If that makes sense.
Oh, yeah.
It's
the
episode-
next episode of our podcast.
Yeah, the next episode of our podcast, but it's not until episode 4 when they are there.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. You'll see why.
Got it.
This has been not that yet. No, not. We're done. No thoughts. We're done. I'm done. It's been a long episode. We're done.
I don't have any thoughts.
No, I mean, my thoughts are this episode's also really good. I really like the Chucky stuff. I love the more Nadine is better. I mean, actually, this is the first time we've ever seen Nadine, so yeah, Nadine's awesome. I think Devon Sawa's Father Bryce is also a fun character. I kind of like, Sister Ruth's, butthole kissing. It's funny. But yeah, it's a good episode. The main cast that we've had already were great, and we have some good new additions and new character roles. And I love Jennifer Tilly. Does she maybe more campy than some people would want for a character in this? Maybe, but not for me. I love it. I love Jennifer Tilly's full camp performances. It's crazy, but it works for me. Yeah, so I like this. It's Chucky. Chucky's great. I don't know if there'll ever be a point. There's a point where I go, oh, this showed something bad, but it'll have to be episodes 6, 7, or 8 because they're the ones I haven't seen yet. But I'd be shocked if it did.
Got it. Yeah, I also really enjoyed this episode. A lot of the writing in this episode specifically was really funny, and a lot of the nuances in the acting from Jennifer Tilly, with the detective in that first scene, I thought was really good. Definitely got me. And yeah, super excited to see where our new cast of characters end up.
Well, next week we might find out some more information on that, because next week we'll be talking about episodes 3 and 4 of season 2. I know the names this time. It's Hail Mary is episode 3, and episode 4 is Death on Denial, which is an episode that could be the first episode Chris doesn't like. I could see it happening. It's a weird episode. So tune in for a weird episode next week.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Bye-bye, everyone. Not yet. Nope, sorry. Lied. First,
check us out
on podcast apps. You know them. Leave 5 stars, I guess, if you want. Patreon.com/horrorboys. YouTube.com/@horrorboys. Go there.
Like, subscribe.
Yeah, comment.
Bells.
All that fun stuff.
Thanks.
I'm Austin. That's Chris. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.